Somewhere in your house right now, a small, judgmental animal is watching you, silently deciding whether you are worth the rent it is charging you to live in your own home. Today, on Guess What I Found Out, we are finally answering the question that has quietly haunted cat owners forever. What does your cat actually think you are? By the end of this one, you will know why it fakes sneaking around when it thinks you are not watching, why meowing is basically a cheat code it invented just for you, and why it might sleep facing you tonight for a reason that is honestly kind of sweet. If you caught our last video about all the times science forced historians to eat their own confident words, get ready, because it turns out we have been just as wrong about the small creature currently ignoring you from across the room. And if this is your first time here, hit subscribe, because we do this twice a week and your brain is going to thank you. Let's name this thing properly. From this point forward, your cat is officially the tiny landlord. Because once you hear how it actually views the relationship, that title is going to feel disturbingly accurate. So, let's start by looking at how cats treat other cats they actually trust. You'll see them bumping heads, rubbing against each other, and even grooming one another. There's also that slow, deliberate blink, and believe it or not, that's a signal of comfort and trust. Now, these behaviours, they're reserved for their real social group, not for strangers, and definitely not for prey. Now, just take a look at what your tiny landlord does with you. It bumps its head against you, rubs against your legs, sometimes even licks your hand, sort of like a grooming gesture. And yes, it slow blinks at you too. Researchers have concluded with, impressive scientific confidence that cats categorize familiar humans as large, strange, not especially competent cats. Not a separate species, not a predator or prey. Just cats. Enormous, clumsy cats who can't clean themselves, but somehow manage to keep the food supply running. For quite a long time, scientists assumed this simply couldn't be true, because, dogs clearly do understand humans as their own category. Dogs evolved over thousands of years to read our faces, follow our pointing fingers, and track our eyes. If you remember our episode on the Firelight freeloaders, that's dogs, you'll know their entire evolutionary strategy was built around understanding us specifically. Cats, on the other hand, never bothered making that distinction. Or maybe they made it and decided it just wasn't worth the effort. And here's where things get a bit stranger, because your tiny landlord isn't just quietly filing you under cat, it's actually watching you, testing you, and, running a surveillance operation you never signed up for. Researchers ran what's called a secure base test, same one used on human infants, where they put cats in an unfamiliar room and observed their behavior with their owner present versus absent. A study from 2019 out of Oregon State found that about 2/3 of cats showed a genuine secure base effect with their owners, which is the same pattern you see in securely attached human toddlers and dogs. They were calmer, they explored more, and they checked back in when they felt uncertain. That's real attachment, just, buried under a mountain of apparent indifference and the occasional dead-eyed stare from across the room. Then there is the name thing. Multiple studies, including a well-known 2019 experiment out of Japan, confirmed cats recognize their own name, even when a stranger says it, even buried among similar-sounding words. Their ear flicks, their tail moves, and in most cases they simply choose not to respond. This is not confusion. It is a decision. Your cat hears its name and thinks something close to, "Yes, I am aware of that. I will deal with it when I feel like it." Cats also track whether you are paying attention. This exact experiment, forbidding an animal from touching something and watching whether it disobeys more when unwatched, has been rigorously tested in dogs, who behave noticeably sneakier in the dark. Cats show the same gaze sensitivity in related studies, reliably following where a human is looking to find hidden information, even on the trickier referential cues that trip up other animals. Dogs use that awareness to seek approval. The tiny landlord uses it to identify windows of opportunity, calmly filing away exactly when your attention drops so it can act accordingly. Comment below and tell us which cat behaviour on this list surprised you the most, and why, because I genuinely want to know if anyone else's cat runs an operation this sophisticated. Now, consider how the tiny landlord talks to you specifically. Adult cats almost never meow at other adult cats. Meowing is actually a kitten behaviour aimed at mothers. Researchers, including a well-cited Cornell study, found that domestic cats meow constantly at humans because, well, it works on us in a way it never works on other cats. It's essentially a vocal interface, built or preserved specifically for the human brain. Different cats develop different meows for different needs, and studies show owners can identify what their own cat means, even from an audio recording alone. Your cat built a language, taught it to you, and you learned it without ever noticing the lessons. What about the dead mouse on your doorstep? Researchers disagree on the reason. Some think the tiny landlord is teaching you to hunt, treating you like a slow kitten. Others think it is just relocating prey somewhere it considers safe, and that happens to be your home. Almost everyone agrees it is not spite, no matter how it feels at 6 in the morning. The head bunt deserves its own spotlight. When your cat presses its face against you, it is depositing scent from glands on its face, marking you as part of its territory in the warmest possible sense. Translated roughly, a bunt means, "You are mine, and I am not embarrassed about it." The slow blink works the same way in reverse. In cat body language, a hard stare is a threat. A slow blink is the deliberate voluntary abandonment of that threat. A 2020 study out of the University of Sussex found cats slow blink back at humans who slow blink first and are more likely to approach them afterward. You can start an actual conversation with your cat using nothing but your eyelids, and it will participate. Kneading is another leftover from kittenhood, a behaviour originally used to stimulate milk flow from a mother. When an adult cat kneads you while purring, it is borrowing its most ancient sense of security and pointing it directly at you. Even purring is, well, more complicated than it looks. Cats purr when they're content, but also, oddly enough, when they're injured, giving birth, stressed, or, even dying. Purring works partly as self-soothing and partly as a signal aimed at you, and, remarkably, the frequency range cats purr at actually overlaps with frequencies linked to bone and tissue healing in other research. So your cat might be managing its own body while also somehow managing your feelings at the same time, without missing a beat. Honestly, that's more emotional multitasking than most humans manage before their morning coffee. So, what does the tiny landlord actually think you are? The honest scientific answer is that it probably doesn't have a category called human at all. Instead, it has a category called my people, and it decided, for its own mysterious reasons, to put you in it. You are a large, poorly groomed, deeply incompetent hunting partner who, somehow, keeps producing food anyway. And you are also, in the fullest sense, a cat is capable of meaning it. Family. Tonight, wherever your cat chooses to sleep, there's a real chance it will orient its body toward you anyway, keeping you inside its field of awareness even while unconscious. Because in its internal accounting, you are part of the group it quietly, stubbornly protects. Smash the like button, subscribe if the tiny landlord hasn't already ruined your ego enough for one day, and drop your answer in the comments. We'll see you next time with another creature that understands more than it lets on. See you there, Curious George. Thanks for watching.